yesterday in college football, the biggest win in the history of the Scott Frost era took place. The problem is Scott Frost was not involved. It was his former quarterback, Adrian Martinez, and the Kansas State Wildcats, led by Adrian Martinez and his 234 yards through the air with a score and 148 yards and 4 TDs on the ground, knock off number 6, Oklahoma, 41-34. Huge win for Adrian. I still think he's an average, if that, quarterback. He had a great day. He finally got a win, right? And he didn't find a way to lose the game by throwing a pick, overthrowing a wide open receiver, or fumbling the football. So props to him. He's one of the coolest and most fantastic human beings I think anyone would ever want to meet, though.
That's where I really want to start the show, because how often do you see teams that are great teams with an average quarterback? It happens all the time.
Yeah.
Why can't Nebraska be one of those teams where it doesn't have to be Tommy has a career day to beat a good team, or Adrian have to have a career day to beat a good team, or Taylor has to? Why not just hand it off occasionally to Amir Abdullah or Rex Burkhead? Because they were kind of doing that a little bit, at least under Bo Pelini. In fact, that 2009 team didn't even have a quarterback, as I remember. Zach Lee, come on. I mean, that was probably the best team that Nebraska's had in 20 years.
That's probably true.
And they had no quarterback. And we always think, man, if they would have had a quarterback, maybe if they would have had a quarterback, we'd be criticizing that guy. And that's where I want to start with Adrian Martinez, because it was a career day for Adrian. He ran for 148, 4 scores. He had that big run on 3rd and 16 late in the game where he goes to the 5-yard line. He slides, then ends up scoring basically the touchdown that sealed it. Oklahoma scores again, but they win it 41-34. They upset the 6th-ranked team in the country. Nebraska did not have a win over a ranked team when Adrian was here. It's been a long time since that's happened. And Martinez, responsible for 500 total yards, or 480 when you account running and passing. It's the biggest win of his career, and I would say maybe the biggest win of the Frost era.
Yeah. It's just Frost wasn't involved in it.
He wasn't in there, but, I mean, he had a hand in it. Obviously, Adrian had, a great freshman year at Nebraska. We thought he would win the Heisman Trophy. It never worked out, but he does transfer, goes to Kansas State. Yeah, they're 3-1. They're not probably going to win the Big 12 by any means, but that's a big, big win for Kansas State, a big win for Chris Kleinman, their head coach. And I'm happy for the dude.
Oh, I am too.
I am so happy for that guy. They're not going to win the Big 12 championship, but it just shows you that if you get some coaching, you can win big games. And it doesn't always have to be, 480 yards. He had to sling it. He had to play great football for them to win that game. But it feels like Kansas State's just got a better culture than Nebraska does, and that's not saying anything. We all know that.
Well, and that's what Adrian said. Adrian said it in the postgame. The thing that struck me the most about that game was how pedestrian Dillon Gabriel has now looked in back-to-back weeks.
He's not very good.
I mean, realistically, even before Brent Venables called off the Dogs against Nebraska a week ago, there could have been 2 or 3 other huge plays, 2 of them that probably would have gone for scores. If Dillon Gabriel can just, with no pressure, hit a guy that's wide open.
He wasn't very good against Nebraska either.
That's my point. Is he missed 2 guys that were so open they probably would have scored. And he was moving away from a little bit of pressure, but it's such a simple throw. And he airmailed 2 of them on him.
Right.
And there was another that I think he threw in the dirt. So yeah, Dillon, I've been very taken aback I thought Dillon Gabriel would be better than he is. And I don't know why.
I guess I was never that impressed with him at UCF. I thought he was okay. But I didn't think he was a great college quarterback. Thought he was a little undersized.
Yeah.
He throws a decent deep ball, but he misses wide open dudes. He missed Greg Stoops on a 4th down play where I was a little stunned they were going for it the way Gabriel was playing. But he had Stoops wide open for an easy first down. They complete that. They probably run away with the game. But hand it to Kansas State. They got the early momentum. They got a 14-0 lead, and then Oklahoma came back. But you felt like that was going to be a dogfight. And then you saw Oklahoma kind of tense up, and they weren't getting great quarterback play, and they're not a great team. I mean, in fact, I don't know that I see a great team in college football this year. I didn't think Oklahoma was anyway. But I did see a different – a lot of Nebraska fans watched that game, right? Because it's Adrian Martinez, and Oklahoma just played Nebraska last week, and now they're playing Kansas State at home this week. So you kind of want a measuring stick to see how good Nebraska or how bad Nebraska is. Nebraska's really bad. We know that. But the thing that is glaring is how Nebraska, the fight just leaves them almost instantly if things go bad. And it didn't leave Kansas State when things went bad last night.
That's the thing. Like,
that's the difference to me.
Going back to the Oklahoma game, halfway through the play that Dylan Gabriel went for, 56 yards or whatever in the touchdown, or 61 yards in the touchdown. The first half of that play, Nebraska's hair was on fire. And as that play unfolded, I saw one of the worst angles by a major college defensive back taken towards Dylan Gabriel. I was dumbfounded. I literally am like, where are you go? Anyway. And at that point, it literally felt like everybody's hair just got extinguished, and that fight you're talking about seemed to not be there anymore. Bizarre.
It doesn't take long, and I get it. When you get to the place where you're kind of a little like your coach has been fired, your defensive coordinator has been fired, and that happened, of course, after the Oklahoma game. But you could probably feel it, like you're playing for their lives. But are you really? I mean, if you weren't playing hard before that, I mean, you know what I mean? It felt like Nebraska. What I saw last night, Kansas State versus Oklahoma, was a culture where Kansas State did not quit. And think about this. They take guys from the JUCO ranks, many of them, that have been playing junior college ball, in some cases 6 months ago. So they have some really good players. They get their share of transfers. They've got Adrian Martinez, who's starting. I think, was a Heisman. Obviously, we all know that he was running, had a chance at the Heisman his freshman year. But there's just you look at them and you think, man, they play hard. They hit hard. When they give up big plays, they don't seem to let it bother them for a long period of time, and they line up correctly. They didn't have any turnovers. They had very few penalties last night. The old Adrian Martinez in a Nebraska uniform, we all think it would have happened, and it probably would have happened. In a Nebraska uniform, he would have thrown a big pick six late in that game.
Or been fighting for a first down when it was 3rd and 7. He would have ran a quarterback draw because, of course, that's the only play Scott Frost knew how to run on 3rd and 7. And he would have been 2 yards short. But instead of just simply going down, he's going to sit there and he gets kind of lackadaisical with the football and it gets ripped out. Right. And, if it's the end all be all 4th down play, but you had it like that, there were so many times that everything that could have gone wrong for Adrian here did. In crucial times, and it didn't at K-State. Is it Kleiman and his coaching? Is it that staff? Is it the overall atmosphere, the culture? Don't know, but props to him for having the game that he did. But at the same time, you really wonder what I would love to have him sit down and analyze, because he made the comment that the culture is so much different. He didn't say better, he said different. But I would love to have him, and he probably wouldn't do it publicly, but I would still love to know the differences. What are you talking about?